Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend her boyfriend is not allowed at my wedding? Anyway, I'm supposed to be getting married early October 2022. It's not gonna be a big wedding or anything, but me and my fiancé both have friends that we don't want to leave out. I have this friend, Amanda. We have known each other since high school and we aren't incredibly close by any means, but we are still somewhat good friends and hang out regularly, and I would like her to be there. The problem is, I just recently found out who she is dating now, and she wants to bring him as her plus one. My sister Lily and her ex Steve broke up about 10 months ago because she found out he was cheating. She was heartbroken, and I know along with that pain she still has a lot of resentment for him, and doesn't even like hearing his name. He was an awful boyfriend, so my family has no problem with him no longer being in our lives. Then 8 months ago, Amanda told me she had started talking to someone and she really liked him and everything. She wouldn't tell me who, not even his name, because she said she didn't want to share anything about him till it got more serious. I didn't really understand his secrecy, but didn't force her to tell me anything, and just let her know I was happy for her and hope it all worked out. Well, last week she told me she was dating Steve. They had gotten more serious, and she wanted to make their relationship public to the people they care about. She also said she knew how much I disliked him and what he had done to my sister, and hoped I would try to understand their love and be happy for her and try to see him in a different light. I was a little shocked at first, since I really didn't expect her to be with a guy like him, and she knew what kind of person and boyfriend he was. But it isn't my place, and I told her that I'm happy she's happy, and that was that. Well, 2 days later, we are texting about the wedding and everything, and she mentioned Steve being her plus one. I do not want him there. Not only because I know my sister, who's my maid of honor, doesn't want him there, but also because I don't like him and neither does my fiancé. I immediately told her that Steve was not invited to the wedding. She was confused, and I explained to her that I was sorry and I'm happy for her, but I didn't want him there. At first, she thought it was just because my sister would be, and kept saying that they wouldn't even be near each other and it would be fine. But then I explained that with everything that happened, we didn't want him there. I said sorry again, but she kept saying how I don't want her to be happy, how I just want to live in the past, how I want to punish her for finding love, stuff like that. None of that is true, and I tried to tell her that, but she stopped responding. So now I'm left feeling like a complete a-hole, and I don't know if I should just let Steve come or not. Now let's read the comments before the updates. Not an a-hole. She wants to bring the guy that cheated on your sister, a person that you are very close to and is in a wedding party, to your wedding? I think you're in the clear here. I can almost guarantee she didn't start talking to him 8 months ago either. 10,000% this. Hence the BS secrecy. I assume Steve was cheating with her when he was with your sister. But how the heck would they not be near each other in the same venue? Your wedding is not a platform for their crappy coming out. Uninvite her and don't think twice about it. Enjoy your beautiful drama-free wedding, guilt-free. If it ends your pseudo-friendship, so be it. She sounds a bit unhinged anyway. Your wedding is not a platform for their crappy coming out. This is the thing. Amanda and Steve are hoping to use the wedding as their way to reintegrate into the OP social circle and make OP's sister the bad guy for any lingering resentment. So tacky. Just uninvite Amanda kindly and directly. I am happy if you're happy. But you did choose a partner who has a bad history with my sister, who is very important to me. It's simply not possible for Steve to ever attend a wedding. I don't want him there. It's not up for debate. I think it's best if you don't come either. You're not the a-hole. P.S. You know Steve had Amanda on the line while he was with your sister, right? Even if she's not the other woman, she's the one he monkey branched to right after your sister dumped him. So he was, at least, laying the groundwork with chats, etc. Now for the first update. First of all, I want to thank everyone so much for commenting and giving judgment. I know I haven't replied to everyone, but I tried to give any extra info that was asked for or relevant, though I am sorry if I didn't reply to you. Now, as I have mentioned in the comments, I had a lapse in my judgment, and that's what led to this post. I thought maybe I was seeing things simply for my distaste for Steve, and it was coming off as I wasn't supportive of Amanda, and that's what made me think I was wrong for not allowing him to come. But I see now. I am completely in the right to not have or want him there, so he will not be invited and that won't be changing. With Amanda, I have pretty much decided that she is no longer invited to my wedding and I'm pretty sure I'm ending the friendship. But I wanted to sit down with her and have a conversation first. Not to salvage anything, but I have some things to say to her and questions to ask. With the cheating, I mentioned in the comments that we only know of 3 girls Steve cheated with. We all believe there are more, especially since one of the affairs goes all the way back to a year. They were together for 2, but we don't know for sure and have no solid evidence at the moment, and Lily doesn't care to find any. Amanda could very well be one of the unknown affair partners. It's very likely, and the timing and secrecy make more sense to believe she was. Even though I intend to end this friendship, and I'm finding it hard to believe that Steve wasn't cheating with her, it would still suck if she had been. Another thing I mentioned in the comments was that Amanda had offered support to my sister when everything happened. She even said more than once that Steve was an a-hole for hurting Lily, and for that to most likely had been an act would suck. I would also like to clear up something about Amanda and her wanting to make their relationship public. Right after she told me they were dating, she started posting them off social media and telling people, so my wedding wouldn't really be their coming out event. Though it would definitely be a way for them to show off their relationship and gloats and everything. Still not okay, but just wanted to clear it up and not mislead anyone. Last thing, I was finally able to get a response out of Amanda. I told her I would like to talk to her about everything and get everything out in the open, and she has agreed to meet me and talk. So I shall update when that happens. For the second update, I wasn't sure if it would be better to post an update here or to make a separate post, so I hope posting here is okay. Also, sorry for the wait. I was finally able to sit down with Amanda and talk today. Anyways, on to what happened. I didn't really want Amanda coming to my house, so we met at the small cafe place near where we live. I figured it wouldn't be too crowded and we would be able to have a discussion easily there, so it was the best option. She was there first, and as soon as I sat down, she looked extremely smug. It seems that she thought I had wanted to talk to apologize or something, and thought I would be telling her Steve was invited to the wedding. Imagine her surprise when I almost immediately tell her that Steve is in no way allowed to attend, and I have officially decided to rescind her invite as well. She was instantly angry, asking why I would do that when I was obviously in the wrong. Why would I uninvite her simply because she wanted her partner there, etc.? BS like that, lol. I let her rant for a minute before I calmly told her what I wanted to say. I told her that my family and literally everyone important to me that would be at the wedding did not like Steve. No one but her wanted him there, and multiple people would be uncomfortable if he was. I also told her it was my wedding and me and my fiancé are the only 2 people who gets to decide who comes and who doesn't. I was clear that she was allowed to want her boyfriend there, but I wasn't obligated to cater to her wants, especially when that's someone I don't like at all. I even told her that if she had just decided not to come at first since he couldn't, I would have understood. But she tried to guilt me into inviting someone who wasn't wanted, so that's why she was no longer wanted. I told her how her actions made me feel and how I now perceived her. It made it clear I wanted to end our friendship and stop our contact. She was furious through every word. Before I ended the conversation, I told her that I had a question and I wanted a complete truth. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I would get it though. And I asked her point blank, was she with Steve before he and Lily split? She got nervous, wouldn't even make eye contact, and stayed silent for a few seconds. I figured that told me what I wanted to know, but I honestly wanted to hear her say it. Then she did. She told me that they have been together for a year total. They started sleeping together when Steve and Lily got into an argument, and Amanda started falling for him, so thought being his mistress was better than not having him at all. At first, he would only go to her when Lily and him fought, but then he started going to her whenever Lily was busy, or his other girls were. She didn't feel sorry about it at all, and kept trying to justify her actions. She even tried to justify her ability to look my sister in the eyes, to comfort her, all that even though she was hooking up with Steve for so long. She really thinks she did the right thing just because she loves him. At one point she said that they really were in love, and she was the only one in his life now. I felt bad for her then, I admit, but that's not my problem. I got up, I walked out, and I drove straight to my sister's where I am now. Told her what I had learned, and we are having a very fun girls' night with ice cream, alcohol, and movies. Amanda and Steve are no longer my concern, and I have decided to enjoy the stress-free time while I've got it, because I know I'm gonna be stressed the closer the wedding day gets. Thank you to everyone who commented. You were all right about the cheating and everything, and I'm extremely thankful for y'all opening my eyes. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister to be a groomswoman? So, my 25 male, fiancé 24 female has never gotten along with my sister, 18 female. My fiancé has never liked how close I am with my sister, and it has been a cause of few arguments. I proposed to fiancé Sarah a few months ago and things have been going smoothly. In fact, I would say our relationship has never been better. A few days ago, Sarah listed off to me all of the people she wanted as bridesmaids, and not surprisingly, my sister was not one of them. She said she was planning on asking them in a few more months to be in our wedding. Sarah then asked me if I knew who I wanted as groomsmen. I listed off a couple friends that Sarah knew, Keegan, Joe, Sammy, etc. And then I said I wanted my sister to be one of my groomsmen. This made Sarah upset. She said that it wasn't traditional for a woman to be a groomsman, and that it would embarrass her. I explained to her that my sister was one of the most important people in my life, and she was going to be part of our wedding. This made Sarah even more upset, and she accused me of trying to ruin her wedding day, and she locked herself in the bathroom. It's been a few days since this, and we haven't spoken at all. Many of her family members have reached out to me and asked me not to include my sister in the wedding at all, and that Sarah should be the most important woman in my life, not my sister. My mother-in-law even called me telling me that I was making Sarah depressed, and that I was a horrible person for doing this to my future wife. My sister heard about all of this and told me that it was okay to not invite her. I stood my ground and told all of them that my sister would be included no matter what. Am I the a-hole for doing so? Edit. Sarah's dislike stems from her walking in on my sister and I cuddling. Sister had her head on my shoulder and my arm was wrapped around her, which made Sarah upset. My sister is aromantic and told me when she first came out that she would most likely never get married, and that made her sad. I told her she could be part of my wedding, even if it wasn't the same thing, and I will never forget the look of joy in my sister's face. This is why I won't back down, for those wondering. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Info: why would you want to marry someone who is not only jealous of your little sister, but also seemingly implying that your relationship with her is inappropriate? Absolutely not, the a-hole. You sound like a great big brother. I'm sorry you're going through this. We had argued about it before, but it had been forgotten about until this instance. I will probably be calling my engagement off after reading everyone's advice. I'd also like to say, I really don't like the fact your fiancé said her wedding. Is she marrying herself? Because last I checked, it was your wedding too, and I don't see why she feels it's her right to ruin your wedding day. That's exactly what I thought when I read that line. I had a friend that was engaged and wanted every detail her way regardless of what the groom thought. She tried to convince me to tell him that weddings are all about the bride and only the bride. She was not happy at all when I told her she was crazy. Said it was his wedding too and that he should have equal say in their day. They never did get married, and he's deceased now, so not gonna happen. She still refers to herself as a widow though. Your future bride views your sister, who is just barely of legal age by the way, as a sexual rival. Let that sink in, because it's sick. It has sunk in, and it disgusts me. I'm planning on calling off the engagement. Edit. I'm planning on calling off the engagement with Sarah when I get home from work. My sister is more important to me than my miserable marriage. I will be home around 8, so look out for an update around then. And now for the update. Hello guys, this is gonna be a little long, so be patient with me. I got home from work and I told Sarah we need to talk. She agreed, and we sat down in the living room. I started off by asking her why she had such a problem with my sister being a groomsman, and also, as many of you suggested, if she had been assaulted or had any trauma related to that. Sarah told me that she hadn't. She went on to say that having sister as groomsman was untraditional. She said, "Men are groomsmen, women are bridesmaids." Sarah also said she was uncomfortable with how close I was with sister. I asked her to elaborate on this, and Sarah implied that we had more than a sibling relationship. She said cuddling between siblings was something she had never seen, and that it just didn't seem like something normal siblings did. I assured Sarah that nothing like that was happening, but she just didn't seem like she wanted to accept that, and it just led to more arguing. I gave Sarah an ultimatum. We could go to couples therapy, she could try to repair her relationship with my sister, and tell her family to stop guilting me, or we were going to have to call off the engagement. Sarah blew up at me and said she was going to stay with her mother. Family-in-law is now completely pissed at me and are sending me hateful messages on Facebook. Lol. So I guess that's most likely the end of Sarah and I. But to wrap things up on a good note, sister is planning on moving in with me. Her mental health was drained from this, so we decided to move in together. Thank you everyone for sticking through this with me. I appreciate all the kind messages. I ended up showing sister some of them, and she was very delighted. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for assuming I'd be a bridesmaid at a friend's wedding when I'm not even invited? I'm really good friends with the sister of my ex-boyfriend, Marina. Marina's getting married in December, and as a friend, I assumed I'd be considered as a bridesmaid or at least be invited. I was excited to talk all plans with her about the wedding. When she announced the wedding and posted the dates on Facebook and Instagram, I replied to her stories and I texted her, "Girl, finally! Should we get on the bridesmaid's dress shopping?" She then immediately video called me. She told me she's excited about the wedding, but sadly I won't be a bridesmaid. I was surprised, considering we've been really good friends. I asked her why, and she told me that she doesn't owe an explanation to me. I insisted because as a friend, I think I'm at least owed an explanation about that decision, and I'll respect it. She said it's because her brother's, aka my ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, is going to be a bridesmaid, so it'd be very uncomfortable for the ex to be there as well. She also told me I'm overall not invited at all because my ex is uncomfortable with my presence, and she doesn't want to make her brother and his partner uncomfortable and wants this to be a pleasant experience for them. I tried to be understanding, I really do, but I told her how ridiculous it is that she's not inviting me because of her brother's discomfort and his girlfriend's insecurities and possible jealousy. She implied I'm an a-hole for assuming I'd be a bridesmaid in the first place, since she never made her intentions clear on whether I'd even be invited, and that I don't get to judge her choices. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. I texted her, "Girl, finally. Should we get on to bridesmaid's dress shopping?" That's not normal. Who assumes they're a bridesmaid and doesn't even wait to be asked? She isn't being ridiculous, you are. Of course her brother comes ahead of you. Man, I didn't even assume I was gonna be one at my best friend's wedding. I waited for her to tell me. I certainly didn't text her about dress shopping randomly without confirmation. You're the a-hole, assuming to be a bridesmaid, hounding her for a reason when it's clear why she doesn't want you as bridesmaid. Whining about her brother and his girlfriend when most people don't like seeing their exes regardless of feelings. It is pretty standard for exes to be kept out of family functions. Seriously, someone's wedding is supposed to be a pleasant experience for them. And if that means you're not invited, then that's that. You should be happy for your friend rather than adding more unnecessary stress to her plate. You're the a-hole, B. You're the a-hole. I don't find it odd at all that she would take her brother's feelings into account before yours. You should never just assume you'll be a bridesmaid. That puts everyone in a very awkward position. I'm not a-hole for refusing to take my nieces/nephews out to fun places anymore since my sister won't help with the bill. My little sister has 6 kids, 10 male, 7 female, 6 female plus 6 female, 4 male and 2 female, who I love and babysit when I can. I'm child-free, And my husband and I have a decent amount of fun money saved for us to spend on whatever we want. And I'd use mine sometimes to take my nibblings fun places. I still take them all out somewhere at least 2 to 3 times a month. Now, when it was just the oldest, I'd take him for a day to give my sister and brother-in-law a break. I'd take him to museums, fairs, kids' play places, Chuck E. Cheese, amusement park, etc. With just one kid, it was pretty easy to do. Then the second oldest came along, and I was still able to swing it. But then with the addition of the twins, it became harder to afford. Not to mention watching 4 kids is way harder than watching one. By the time the 4-year-old came around, I couldn't afford to take them all to the same places anymore. It cost too much. So I started taking them cheaper/free places, like the park, free kids' days at the museum, the mall, swimming at my house, etc. Now with the 2-year-old, I've totally stopped taking them anywhere that costs more than a couple bucks each. But last week when I was dropping the kids off at my sister's place, the oldest asked if we could go to the fair next month. I didn't think I'd be able to afford that, but didn't want to outright say no, so I told him I wasn't sure, but would see. After the kids ran off, my sister asked why I wasn't sure about the fair, and I told her I didn't think I'd be able to afford tickets and food for 7 people. She said it couldn't cost that much. So I told her that each ticket was about $10 the last time we'd gone, and that wasn't counting the money spent on food. I said I'd be happy to take them all to the fair if she paid for at least the tickets. She went off saying that she and brother-in-law didn't have that kind of money, how they had 8 mouths to feed and clothes to buy, and she couldn't waste money on the fair. I asked why she thought I was made of money, and she said I had more money than them. And it's not like I have 6 kids to care for. I told her I loved taking the kids out, but if she couldn't help with paying for the expensive places, then the kids would have to be content with going to the park or swimming at my house. Sister said I'm a huge a-hole. And when I told our parents, they said it was sorta a-holish since I only take them out a couple times a month instead of caring for them 24/7 like my sister. So now I don't know. Hub says I'm not the a-hole, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, I could swing taking them all to the fair, but it's just so expensive. Am I the a-hole for asking for help paying? Now for the top comments before reading Opie's little update. Not the a-hole. So if she can't afford places like the fair because of having 8 mouths to feed, why does that responsibility have to fall on you? She's being entitled instead of grateful that you've done as much as you have all these years. Being child-free doesn't mean to have all this disposable income to spend on other people's kids, no matter how much you may love them. Not the a-hole. Opie, you take your nieces and nephews out 2 to 3 times a month, which is far more than most aunts and uncles do. And rather than be grateful, your sister is demanding you do more. Your sister is quick to count and spend your money. I think you've found a very wise solution to continue spending treasured time with your nieces and nephews without breaking the bank. You've done nothing wrong at all. It's your sister who's being an unreasonable a-hole. I grew up very close to my aunt and uncle, and some of my fondest memories with them are from when one or both of them babysat us at their house while my parents were both at work. Mom was a part-time worker, so it only happened occasionally that her and my dad's shifts lined up like that, and we'd spend time with them. My brother and I would play ball hockey in the basement with my cousin. We'd play GameCube, etc. They don't need to be taken to expensive places to create a strong relationship and happy memories with you. The fact that you want to be so present in their lives is amazing. Trust me, my aunt and uncle passed away now, but I will always have my love and memories with them. And your nieces and nephews will too, whether you paid to take them somewhere or not. Definitely not the a-hole here. Not the a-hole. If your sister doesn't have that kind of money, maybe they should stop having children. I'd have stopped at the same point as you. I wouldn't be willing to look after 4 kids even if the tickets were paid for. She should be grateful you're essentially offering free childcare. This. So not only is Opie babysitting 6 children for free, but must also be willing to spend $100 plus as well? 6 kids at the fair may cost $70 to get in, but fair food is also expensive. Plus, I can't even imagine the stress of juggling 6 kids at the fair. Bathrooms alone would be a nightmare. Update. I want to thank everyone for all the amazing comments and DMs. After all the resounding not the a-hole comments, I've come to the conclusion that I'd become used to my family's treatment of me over the years. I'd always been aware it wasn't really fair, but I put up with it to keep the peace and see my nibblings regularly. But I can't keep spending such outrageous amounts of money on kids that aren't even mine anymore. Especially when I'm not even getting a half-assed thank you in return. It's not fair to me. So I called my sister and told her I won't be taking her kids out for fun days for the foreseeable future. I told her that she's been really entitled to expect me to foot the bill to babysit her kids, and if she apologizes sincerely, then I might start taking them out again sometime in the future. But for now, I'm gonna keep my distance. She didn't take it well, and called me a lot of hurtful names before hanging up on me. Not long after, Mom called me and told me I was being selfish and rude. But I snapped at her that she was being rude. Expecting me to pay upwards of hundreds of dollars a month for kids that I didn't give birth to while cuddling my sister was horrible parenting. And I said how sick and tired I was of being treated like free babysitting for my sister just because I never popped out any grandkids for them. And if she and my sister thought taking all the kids out 3 times a month was no big deal, then I'll send her the bill. Which I did. I sent her pictures of the receipts from the last 3 places I took my nieces/nephews, each one being no less than $70. She hasn't called or texted me back. I'll just see what happens. But thanks everyone. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad to buy stepsister old consoles if he wants her to have them so bad? So I, 16 female, started babysitting 2 years ago. I then moved from that to a retail job back in October. I have saved some money and decided to indulge in getting some vintage consoles. Consoles I missed out on, but see games I want to play. I found places that sell them pretty cheap. I've always been a gamer, and it's the only passion I'm glad I can explore more than the older stuff. Ever since I got a 3DS, not one of the older consoles, but I wasn't allowed to have before, my stepsister, 14 female, has wanted to use them too. Mostly the PlayStation and Nintendo consoles. I have always said no. She's careless and demanding, and to me that's the #1 reason she isn't going to get her hands on them. One day we got into a huge fight over it, and she laid on a guilt trip about siblings always sharing, how I'm her big sister and should include her in this stuff. I told her it wasn't going to work on me. She ran to tell my dad, who has bent over backward for her since he married his wife 5 years ago, and sure enough, he tried to do the same again. He told me they weren't really mine since I was his minor kid, they were his, and he wanted me to share with her. I told him he didn't earn the money, that if he argued about him paying the bills, I could just store them until I move out. He told me to stop being a brat and stop hurting my sister's feelings. I told him if he wanted her to have an older console so much, he needed to go out and buy her one, and let her be careless with that, not with something I paid for. That way, it can be something new to add to the list of things she's broken. Both laptops for virtual learning, the remote for our main TV, the drawer to my desk, 2 of my phones, 6 of her phones, her little keepsake box that my grandparents got for each of us the year my dad married her mom, the family console, 3 discs for video games, and not forget my necklace that my mom bought for me when I was a baby. He told me I should be keeping track, and that they have always done their best to replace what was broken. I replied that he and his wife should teach her how to be less destructive, and it's not my job to do it. Then I pointed out not everything could be replaced or fixed easily. He told me I was behaving like a 6-year-old instead of a 16-year-old, and that I had no right to talk back to him. That was 3 weeks ago, and he's still mad about it. Am I the a-hole for how I talked to him? Not the a-hole. You're actually being very reasonable and articulate about the issue, and your dad is being a child. Yes, siblings normally are encouraged to share, but that's a pretty reasonable worry when the person you're sharing with doesn't have respect for someone else's things. He's mad because you're making sense. Plus, it's retro game consoles, which are like sacred. Not the a-hole. Your stepsister destroyed enough things already. You fearing she wouldn't be careful is justified. Store the things and move out. How did they replace something as precious as your mom's gift? They bought one that was like it, but it was never the same. For starters, it was from them and not my mom. I had kept that damn thing safe for 15 years, and then she decides to grab it while I was wearing it and broke the necklace. So she destroyed the necklace from your mom on purpose? Frankly, the whole siblings should always share thing is BS. You're allowed to have your own things, and to set limits in sharing with people who are careless/break stuff. Also, I don't believe for a second that your sister's both that careless and that entitled. Sounds like there's more to the story, and that most likely she's intentionally breaking things and claiming it was accidents. Breaking things during temper tantrums is still intentional, not the a-hole. I don't think she meant to break it, but she also didn't regret breaking it either. I think she just lost her temper because she didn't get what she wanted. And yeah, but still freaking sucks, honestly. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for being honest about why we decided on fertility treatment over adoption?" My friends and I have always had a mostly negative view on people who exhaust themselves with doing fertility treatments when they can't have kids, instead of just adopting existing children. My husband and I ended up struggling with infertility, so we decided right away to start on adoption first. We tried both a private adoption agency and foster care, and got as far as the home study both times. Our house is old, and there are a lot of weird idiosyncrasies with the house, but we're completely up to date on electrical and plumbing codes, so we thought this would be just a formality. 2 generations of my family grew up there, and it was perfectly safe. Not to them. They had huge issues with the house. They considered 2 of the bedrooms to not be a bedroom because it was too small. They didn't like that the main level floor was uneven. We have a problem with squirrels trapping themselves in the roof somehow, and the social worker was appalled that we just let them scratch themselves out. There's nothing we can do. We don't know how they're doing it, and unless children are squirrels now, no child is getting up there to get stuck that way. It was ridiculous, but it didn't matter. The verdict from both was that our home was fundamentally unsafe. We did look into fixing it. Every single person who ever owned that home had tried to fix the things that were wrong, but we tried again. The house just couldn't be fixed to their standards without becoming actually dangerous. It was fine and safe to live in, but we also wouldn't be able to sell because it was imperfect. The verdict was that if we wanted to adopt a child, we would have to demolish our home to sell the land and then buy a new house on top of agency fees. We did the math. The truth was that, with housing prices in our area, adopting a child would actually cost us at minimum $450,000. Even if we had to do IVF surrogacy, it would only cost us about $130,000. It no longer made any sense to adopt, so we committed to doing treatment. Our total ended up being much less than that because thankfully our first round of IVF worked, and we didn't need a surrogate. We now have a child. One of our friends made a very, honestly, ignorant post about spending $100,000 on a child of your own while children sit in foster care. I decided to comment on it, telling her the full story for the first time, explaining how expensive adoption can truly be. There's been a lot of comments, and now she and some of our friends are now mad at me for making adoption look like a bad and terrible thing. I was just trying to show that there isn't one side to this, and that there are valid reasons to make both choices. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I think you and all of your friends are horrible people for sitting in judgment about how people handle their own infertility. I think you're doubly bad for not saying, "I've had a change of heart after realizing there's so much I don't understand about adoption and IVF," and instead saying, "You don't understand. I'm better than others who choose IVF because in my situation, it's okay. Everyone sucks here." I understand that. My opinions have changed, and I regret how ignorant I was. Everyone sucks here. You're a part of a group that habitually judges the family planning of others. You can't be surprised when they then judged you. They didn't have the life-changing experience you did, and therefore haven't changed. It sounds like you all need a wake-up call. When friendships are based on othering others in circumstances you can't imagine, they aren't healthy friendships. Think about if this group is worth your time and learn from your mistakes. I'm sorry things were so difficult for you, and hope your pregnancy goes well. A quirky little house with a squirrel attic sounds like the setting for a children's novel. Not the a-hole. 99% of the people who spout just adopt literally have no idea of how adoption and foster to adopt work. None. Now that you've gone through it, you know it's not the easy path that so many seem to think it is. Long story short, I had both my kids via IVF for about $5,000 out of pocket for IVF through hospital births. That $5,000 wouldn't even have covered a lawyer's retainer and a home study if we wanted to adopt. Plus, my IVF treatments involved me, My husband and my doctor was only concerned with whether or not I could safely carry pregnancy to term. He didn't care how much I made, what kind of parent he thought I'd be, the state of my marriage, what my house looked like, what my colleagues think of me, etc. For us, IVF was by far the best option. Never judge until you've walked a mile in someone else's shoes. It was ridiculous how much cheaper everything was. I ended up being able to do a home birth with a midwife, so I didn't have the hospital bill. I had been so concerned about the cost, but it was cheaper than I've heard of some people's spontaneous hospital births being. Kind of disturbing, honestly. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for choosing not to follow my in-laws' naming tradition for my daughter? My husband, 24 male, and I, 24 female, had our daughter in November. Early in my pregnancy, my husband told me he would let me choose the name because he really struggled to like names, and he didn't want to make the process more complicated than it needed to me. I chose the name the day we found out she was a little girl. I told my husband, he gave me the thumbs up, and I kept it between us and my best friend who made her engraved baby blanket. Outside of that, nobody else knew. We announced her name the day after she was born. The name was controversial within my husband's family. Our daughter was the first granddaughter, and we did not go with the tradition in their family of naming the first grandson/granddaughter a specific name. To make sure I'm being clear, in my mother-in-law's family, the first male of each generation is named John, for example, and the first female is named Emily. Mother-in-law's oldest grandson is John, but our baby girl is the first granddaughter and was not called Emily. They are very hurt that I would not honor their tradition. It has become a feud because they feel like I disrespected them, and that I should have wanted my daughter to carry on a long-held family tradition that means so much to the family, and I have struggled with some guilt since. My husband told them it was our decision, and sooner or later the tradition was going to be broken, and I did nothing wrong. But my mother-in-law, and especially my oldest sister-in-law, the mother of John, have not given up. Sister-in-law claims that by using a different family middle name, a name shared by both a grandmother of his and a grandmother of mine, it was an even bigger middle finger to them. I told them she is mine and my husband's daughter, and our wishes should be respected. They claim it was still an a-hole thing. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Repeat after me. I'm sorry you feel that way. Call us when you're over it. This. I hope no one in their family wants to document their genealogy. That would be a nightmare with all those Emilys and Johns. It also becomes a big problem in the digital age with mail, medical records, insurance, etc. Trust me, my husband's grandfather changed his name to a name he liked. Let's say Michael. Then he named his son Michael, and his daughter named her son Michael, and my husband is also Michael. Not one of them goes by Michael except on legal documents. We're constantly getting mail for each other, having to clarify records, etc. Yes, I honestly love my son's name, named the third, but using the family name was a huge mistake. Name Senior is an imprisoned child violator. Name Junior always had issues with background checks before she transitioned to female when our son was 3 years old, and then she hated constantly hearing her dead name. Not Dayhole. This entitled mentality that some family members have over their kids' lives is unbelievable. Name your child what you like and enjoy the good life. Also, congrats. Edit. I might also add that the sister-in-law is probably projecting regret that you did something she wouldn't. I just get flabbergasted that somebody can expect the name of the child can be defined like that. Not Dayhole. Why do people think that a couple's baby is somehow the possession of the whole family? This is your baby. They don't get a say, period. I can't imagine the entitlement of a family thinking they should have more say over a baby than the baby's own mother.